following the surgery, the next day when I come out of, from the operating room, they gave me the good news was I was alive. The bad news was that I probably wouldn't be alive very long because I had inoperable cancer.
When Don came to see me, the stomach, he has stomach cancer, colon cancer. So what the doctor did is they opened him up, take a look, and they said, wow, it's too much, you take all your guts out, you should go too, So I said, forget about it. They sew him back.
See, when I left the hospital, they told me I couldn't even get out of bed. They said, Mr. Kramer, you can't go home. You can't even walk. I said, I'm going home tomorrow.
Alfie thought that he would never return because he was too far gone with his cancer.
And within a week, I could get out of bed myself. And of course, I was on Hulda Clark's protocol. Yeah, it's 2012 now. And I can sit on a piece of heavy equipment all day long. I can walk all day long. And I'm grateful for that. I've cheated the guy below, this 13 years now. And will I live to be 100? I hope so. I have hope.
As a herbalist, I think the most, encouraging and satisfying moment is to see the patient get well. And when a cancer patient is well, they give you a hug and said, well, I'm still alive. You feel good about that.
A serendipitous thing happened to her. With a background in the sciences and a hobby in radio electronics, she was snowed in a mountain cabin one Christmas. Her son had given her a Radio Shack 101 science experiments kit, and she was going through the manual and making the items on the breadboard. Turned the page, and the title at the top, the experiment said, "Look into the human body." And it was one of those aha major moments, because here was an audio oscillator that she built with 2 plates like this, a hand probe.
What electronic
I
device?
call it a synchrometer.
Is this a new term?
Yes, that's a new term. I describe that in the books. But it's essentially an ordinary little oscillator circuit in which you introduce yourself as a resistance. You put yourself where the feedback resistance is in that circuit.
I see.
And that, you have to read the details of the electronics there, but, it is very commonplace. Any radio electronics person can do it, and I was able to do it because I'm also an amateur radio person.
And it was not until 1990 that she made an amazing discovery and started writing books. She didn't write books or come to conferences because she wanted to do that. She found something so significant that it had to be said. And what was significant was that she found a parasite called Phaseolopsis busci in the liver of every cancer client that she worked with at the clinic in Mexico. Not only the Phaseolopsis busci stages, but isopropyl alcohol, neither which should have been in the liver. She found another amazing 100% correlation between the kind of water coming out of the kitchen faucet and being malignant with cancer. The water coming out of the kitchen faucets was not food-grade quality disinfectant. Now, she didn't know what in the disinfectant was causing the problem, and she wasn't sure about the validity of her liver Phaseolopsis busci stages in the liver, so she waited till she had 100 verifications of it. She never had one person that was malignant with cancer that did not have Phaseolopsis busci in their liver with isopropyl alcohol. So that is the reason that she wrote her first book, Cure for All Cancers. About the same time, she wrote the HIV book, and then revised it again later with some new discoveries from her research. But she found that the same parasite, the Phaseolopsis busci, was in the thymus of people with HIV/AIDS. She wrote the Cure for All Diseases not long after, and that was important because she found that there's a pattern developing in the illness situation. For example, people with diabetes that were her clients had in the pancreas the pancreatic fluke and wood alcohol. And there was so much reliability in her statistics that she felt like it had to be said, that this was information that would matter long after she was dead.
When I met Dr. Clark was because I was the manager. I will say I was the manager about one hospital, regular hospital, and she got two patients with HIV and she wants one place to put them, but nobody wants those patients. So her doctor, Margarita, asked me, because I met her before that, she asked me if we can put those patients, if we can accept those patients in our hospital. And I say yes. The HIV people stay for more than 21 days, and they make them stronger. They start to gain weight because they came so tiny, so weak. Then they start to gain weight. And with Dr. Clark protocol, I could see how the viral load goes down.
I haven't tried to do chemical testing because I developed a new electronic circuit and I do electronic testing. That's what made all of these discoveries possible. You might think, well, it's rather ridiculous that you can find a cure for cancer, which is a fairly large product or achievement, and then in a couple of years find the cure for HIV and AIDS, and there are many other cures on the way. They're already alluded to in there. The reason for that was that there is an electronic way to do all this testing, and it's much quicker than chemical or X-ray or any other method that I know of.
Dr. Clark moved to San Diego in the early 90s. She had reached a point in working with people in Indiana to where she thought she had discovered some very significant things about cancer and HIV and how parasites were a part of the cause.
Because I was seeing sick people all day long, and after I found that I had discovered the cause, I thought it was too important not to bring that to somebody's attention, certainly the public's attention, if not the scientists' attention. And to do that, I would have to get all my data together and present it in such a way that it could be viewed by others and evaluated.
What convinced me is, in addition to a lot of anecdotal evidence that she had, she also had she also worked with HIV people, and even though there's not a test for cancer, there is for HIV. And so by sending people for an HIV test when they first came to her for advice, and having that come back positive, and then working with that person, and then sending them for another test and having that come back negative, that was the evidence that she thought would be convincing to a lot more people, and it was convincing to me. And I asked, just to show you what a skeptic she raised, I said, I want to see those tests. And so she sent them to me. So she had seven pairs of tests where they start positive and later they went negative. And I was so impressed at that I thought we should put that on the cover of her HIV book. And so we did. We put that on the cover of the HIV book, and a before and after test. And it just didn't sell that well. I don't know why. I don't know why people's jaws weren't on the ground at seeing that, gee, this is how you can go HIV negative.
So all of a sudden I had this sinus My sinuses were really bothering me, really stuffy. It would get very sore. And since I was already working with the synchrometer, I tested myself. So I tested myself, and I knew that there was lots of bacteria in there. So I kept taking things for it, the Lugol's iodine and the turmeric, the fennel. And finally just thought, well, it's got to be one of his teeth. So I checked around the different teeth, and I found a tooth that was the one that was connected to it, and there was a lot of strep in there, there was a lot of staph in there. I thought, oh gosh, something is wrong here. So I went and I had an x-ray done, and the x-ray didn't show up anything. But I told the dentist that I had tested, and he knew what I was doing, so I said, this tooth has to go. Something. Oh, he did tell me that it was a root canal tooth. And once I learned that, I said, you know, that tooth has got to go. So he says, well, I'll send you to a dental surgeon. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with the tooth, but if you really want to have it taken out, you can go. So he sent me there. The dental surgeon took another x-ray, and he told me as well. He says, there's nothing wrong with that tooth. Everything's fine. He showed me the x-ray, and nothing showed up. But I tested it myself, so I knew that there was something wrong with that tooth. It was bad. So he put me under, and he took out the tooth, and when I came to, he said that it was all black. He pulled out the tooth, it was black. It was a hole that had eaten through the bone. So there was a hole going into my sinus canal, and there were polyps all through my sinus canal. So he had scraped some of the polyps and sent it to a lab for testing to see if they were malignant. He didn't say anything about, wow, you know, how did you find this? Nothing like that at all. You know how they are. But yeah, so I felt much better after that. That was a biggie. It was like almost, that was instant. I could breathe again, and the pain was gone. So it was good.
It's a good story.
Yeah, the synchrometer works. It just, I wish there would be an easier way to learn how to test, because not too many people can pick it up.
I worked with Dr. Clark for approximately 12 to 15 years. I had many moments that I really doubted of what she was doing because of my training in the initial stages. But after seeing what the response on the patient's health was, it was outstanding. I happen to have a clipping here of one of our patients that came in from England. And it was interesting, because I saw him initially when I first started working with Dr. Clark. And they brought him in a wheelchair. He was so thin and frail that, you know, you didn't know if he would withstand the treatment that we were going to do. They were going to extract some teeth. And I saw him, and I said, well, they wheeled him out. They wheeled him in, they wheeled him out, so it was okay. He survived it. And after a couple of days, he looked like with a little bit more energy and a lot better. And due to scheduling, I didn't see him when he left. But I saw him about 10 months later. He came back from England, and they told me, oh, so-and-so is back. Oh, really? And I walked out from the corridor, and I saw this young man, a very energetic, very happy, walking around, and says, say, aren't you this man's brother? No, doctor, it's me. Don't you recognize me? It looked just like his younger brother. He had skin tone, his hair was back, shine in his eyes. He was extremely happy.
Now it's widely recognized in integrative medicine that dentistry is central for any treatment, especially cancer. Dr. Clark was one of the pioneers in show us the relationship between oral health and general health. She explained to us how dental bacteria and dental materials can affect the malfunction or even develop diseases in the different organs of the body.
If you have any kind of disease at all, whether it's cancer or anything, the probability of it coming from your mouth is very high.
Now, it says the cure for all cancers.
Yes.
How has that title of those books, how has been the reaction or the response of the people?
I think it's been very good, to tell the truth. I use the word accurately. I don't use the word cure loosely. Cure means eradication of cause, and that is exactly what I did. You can't call it remission or improvement or treatment when it is a cure. So I'm being accurate with the term.
Well, in my own life, I had a great deal of difficulty adjusting to Hulda Clark's claims because I had been taught a certain way to arrive at the truth was through one procedure only, and to be very distrustful of anybody else. What was encouraging, though, was that people who followed her protocols would regularly outlive their prognosis and have a better quality of life. That's what kept me going and keeping my faith in her protocols. Don Kramer, for example, showed up at our place looking rather weak and tired, and Elfie thought that he would never return because he was too far gone with his cancer.
He was going to be dead in 2 weeks.
It turned out that he was still alive and his wife was ordering product for him. I didn't know how to add that up. I just did not know how to understand that. I knew he was alive, but I didn't know all about his background. I didn't know at that time that he was told he had only 2 to 3 weeks.
And today, Don is still alive. See, because the doctor didn't do anything to him. And that's the best proof that the herbs work with no side effects.
I'm a 12-year-plus cancer survivor. I feel good. I'm mobile. I can work 24 hours a day. And thank you, Hulda Clark, for your books you read, and I'll continue to using your protocol. God bless you, Hulda.
What is the cure?
Killing the parasite.
And what do you do? How do you do that?
With an herbal recipe. I'm sure it's not the only herbal recipe, but this is the one that I developed to completion over the years, so that I know that all the stages, and it's the stages that are important.
Mm-hmm.
The adult has lived with us forever and a day. It's a human parasite. But what's happening now is that the little stages that it has to go through are reproducing in us, and those are the things we have to kill.
A 1,000 people die of cancer in this country every day, and that's like a jumbo jet crashing every day.
I do feel very strongly that the type of choices we have today are being forced upon us, and people have to realize that they have choices, that they don't have to follow any pressure from any parts of our society, that they can freely decide what they choose and what they're going to follow.
I got a phone call from my sister saying that she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and there had been no cancer in my life. I didn't even know, like, what does that mean, you have cancer? So anyway, she chooses the operation, and I'm biting my nails. I'm in the hospital. She comes out of surgery. She comes out of surgery, wakes up, and she starts to cry. And she says they couldn't remove the tumor. All they could do was rewire her so that her tube, or her bile ducts and all these sort of things were working properly. So she was jaundiced because of this tumor pressing on the bile duct. And I said, you know, that's okay, because we're on plan B. And I just walked down the hall, got on the phone, said, Dawn, you're on. And Dawn introduced me to Dr. Hulda Clark. The diet that Dr. Hulda Clark gives you is not only excellent, it's life-saving. My sister went from October the 20th, told she would not make Christmas. We extended her life for well over 3 years. The most wonderful day was, I believe, this was October when she became really ill. In January, middle of January, we got her final blood test and we got her blood to normal. Now, that did not mean that her tumor had disappeared. She still had the tumor. But every time we went for ultrasound, it had stopped growing. We had actually stopped it. It was stopped dead in its tracks. And there was nothing but euphoria. The fact that my sister had pancreatic cancer, and in less than 4 months, we got her blood to normal, we got her strength back, we got her weight back on because she was skeletal, and healthy if you stick to it and allow the body to heal itself. But the most important thing is to understand that cancer cannot be beaten one way, and there are several ways to attack it from this book. And if I get cancer, this is the book I keep. And like Don said, he's not afraid of cancer, nor am I.
We're finding that up to 95% of our patients, cancer patients being the majority of them, and also some chronic disease patients, 95% of these patients have gut dysbiosis. What that means is that they have poor intestinal digestive function that reflects as petrification, fermentation, and ultimately, in my opinion, and in the research out there, the majority of this has to do with parasites, and parasites infesting not only the gut, but also the liver and other tissues in the body. And so by knowing this, we can give more appropriate treatment to release the body of these parasites and toxins that are causing the gut dysbiosis. And Dr. Clark's protocol is excellent in addressing this very, very important part of our health and of the healing process.
The 3 herbs that kill them all, whether it's the eggs or the redia or the cercaria or myricidia.
These are all the stages.
These are all the complicated little stages, are a wormwood combination, which is easy to get, a ground clove preparation, which is also easy to get.
Just regular cloves?
Regular cloves, but it can't be out of the marketplace because that's too old. They have to be fresh.
Okay. What do you determine to be fresh cloves? Like
fresh ground. You
fresh ground.
You can go and get whole cloves and make them fresh ground.
All right.
Yes. And the 3rd herb is an extract of the green hull of the black walnut tree.
Now these 3 together.
Together. You have to use them together because you have to kill everything at once. Otherwise one thing turns into the next.
Right, right. How long? How long do you have to take this?
5 days or 6 days.
That's it?
That's it.
And what happened? The parasites are...
Yes. All the parasitic stages are gone. Now you might think, well, the cancer still goes on, but it doesn't. That was the amazing thing.
Now, how many
apparently,
people... Go ahead.
Apparently, the growth stimulant, you've heard of all these various growth stimulants. They have at least 24 already discovered, like platelet-derived growth factor, epidermal growth factor. Yes. The one that this parasite produces or induces is orthophosphotyrosine, a central growth factor that is needed for all mitosis, for all cell division. And here now, with these little stages in your body, they are producing this or inducing it in you. And that's why your cells have to multiply. The good news is that when you kill them, all that growth factor is removed. That excess growth factor is immediately removed. And so the cancer stops.
And so the body can then start healing itself.
Can start healing it.
The 7 key principles that I've learned in my 23 years to dealing with patients with cancer. Number one is working on the immune system, not in any order of importance, okay? Number one is working on the immune system. Number two is the nutrition. You know, the father of medicine said we are what we eat, but we are what we eat, we are what we assimilate or absorb, and we are what we eliminate, right? So I consider that a very important part of any cancer therapy. The immune system, nutrition, oxygenation, then we have to remove microbes, parasites being one of the most important ones that we have to remove, because more and more science is knowing that microbes, be it parasites, fungus, bacteria, viruses, play a very important role in cancer and many chronic diseases. I was part of a study in Europe where we studied 500 cancer patients of different types of cancers. 85% of them had one or more of 7 pathogens, okay? Some of these 7 pathogens were parasites, some were viruses, and others were fungus. So the antimicrobial component of a cancer program is very important. The next one is, of course, detoxification, right? It's very important to detox the mouth with respect to metals and dental toxins. In my opinion, the 4 most prominent dental toxins are root canals, metal fillings, cavitations. A cavitation is where the tooth was removed, the gum closed, but it left an opening in there. And that's a haven for pathogens and bacteria, parasites, right? And so the 4th one is hidden infections that can be happening in the gums. So removing toxins and detoxifying is a very important part of my 7 key principles. And the next one being the emotional, biological component of disease. And then, of course, dealing with non-toxic cancer therapies. And these 7 principles are the ones that I adhere to when I work with my dad, and 23 years later working with all the patients that come to Hope for Cancer Baja.
About 2 weeks before the surgery, I actually started the parasite program. I ordered all of the items that I needed for the parasite program and started that. The diagnosis were originally a cancer of uterus, but upon them going in, they didn't really find any cancers in the uterus. But they did found the ovaries being cancers, having cancerous growth on those. After the surgery, of course, my cancer count blood tests went way up, went from 85 to 135. And I was sent to the oncology department at the hospital that I was insured through at the time, which was in Seattle, and listened to the information of what was going to be happening, that I will be undergoing chemotherapy and I'd be undergoing radiation, and that I have possibly about 50-40 chance of recovering or going into remission, since I was still in my 40s. They expected to have some sort of a recovery for a time being. I didn't like the ads or the idea of how my life's going to change, and decided that I was not going to do the allopathic medical treatments. They were too scary to me, knowing enough about what the chemicals did to your body and seeing enough people undergoing and being gone through this same treatment. I didn't want to be in that boat. I made my decision not to do that. And instead, I had fully immersed myself into the program with Dr. Clark. I had sent, I believe, a fax at the time, asked if I can make the appointment to see her, came down, stayed for 2 weeks. I've gone through all the testing and all the advice on the nutrition, food preparation. Everything that's in her book was then followed through with the help of the people that worked with Dr. Clark at the time. And of course, Dr. Clark had suggested all the dosages and all the supplements that I had needed to be on. So I followed it diligently. 2 weeks later, I had some dental work done at the time as well down in Mexico, which was a little traumatic, but I'm glad I did it because immediately the response were that my eyes had cleared up, and of course the blood test showed it like a week later. I went down to about 45.
Wow.
So
So
after
quickly.
1 week, after 1 week with the extractions and the cleaning and the supplements and the diet and sticking very strictly to her protocol, it went down from 125 the first week to about 80 something. I have to document that. I will pass those to you. And then in 2 weeks to 45. And the numbers went down so fast after the first months that my regular doctor says, well, I don't need to see you for a couple of months. And then after that he says, you know, you're down below 10, come in 6 months. And then I went all the way down to 2. And I've done yearly tests, came back actually once to see Dr. Clark again and had it, and it was still at 2. So I felt well. I felt really good about my energy was high. My physical recovery probably took about 2 to 3 years to complete, but the energy was there. It was quite well. My doctor had a response to the changes in my health by congratulating me. And then later on he had asked what I have done, that I have gone so fast down into the health zone from the ill zone, as I called it. So I explained it to him. I even told him about the book. Now whether he read it or not, I have no idea. But in a few years after the first time that I have told him about it, he actually asked me to speak to some of his patients that were not doing so well, and so I passed the information on to them.
She is now living to live, not to die, and that makes all the difference in the world. And so, you know, when we hear these stories that are true, factual, you know, we can really realize the potential of these programs and these therapies, the Dr. Clark protocols, when we get rid of parasites, when we eat correctly, when we oxygenate, when we change our mentality that now, you know, we are going to live, right? We're not preparing ourselves to die. It makes so much sense to please everyone listening to give yourself that opportunity to heal in a safe, natural way where you will also have good quality of life.
There's isopropyl alcohol in your shampoo. That's probably the biggest source, along with bottled water.
Shampoo?
Yes.
Why shampoo? I don't
All
understand.
Shampoo. Well,
all shampoo, you said?
All the shampoo that you can buy in a store that I have tested has isopropyl alcohol in it, whether it's a health food brand or not.
I have to have dirty hair. No shampoo?
I have nice recipes in the book to replace it.
Aha.
And of course, ordinary shampoo makers could simply bottle it in tubing that was sterilized with ethyl alcohol. Much, much more expensive.
Ethyl alcohol is okay?
Yes, 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 of course. It's isopropyl alcohol that the body cannot metabolize.
I see.
And that has this peculiar effect on this parasite, making it multiply and multiply.
In 1996, I became very ill and I completely collapsed, ended up in the emergency room, had been very weak for many months. And there was no cause for it other than a severe blood condition, a monocytosis, and they didn't have anything that they could do for me. So I started to research, and at that point I took the mercury out of my mouth. All of my teeth had mercury in them. And as soon as I got the mercury out of my mouth, maybe 2 weeks later, my white count went into normal range. And then it took me a couple more months to get the monocytes back down to normal.
It's a difficult place because in the jawbones, everything has access to the rest of your body. It's just going to go into the brain, it's going to go down into the spine, it's going to end up in the hips, just like Dr. Clark said. Sooner or later, everything ends up in the hips.
One of the most miraculous results we had was actually with the MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. That bacteria, of course, will not react to any antibiotics. So with electricity, I had a lady with her hands, they were supposed to be amputated, because she was now also developing gangrene. And by putting her on the frequency generator several times, it totally healed up, and it saved her hands and probably even her life. It's hard to say, but she is a healthy, well person again, and without any medication.
I had a lot of eczema from my 26 years old, and I went to several doctors, and nobody could help me. And a few years I ate macrobiotic food, and that helped me a lot, so I could keep the eczema for a long time being gone. And then it came back again, and it was very bad because my whole body was under the eczema. I didn't want to have pharmaceutic products, so I was always convinced of that. It was not good. But then I get a very long road of all kinds of alternative therapists. I spent years doing that, and spent a lot of money, and some give some relief, but most didn't. So I couldn't work. It was a very, very hard time. And then just by accident, I met on colonics in Thailand, a very little thing, and they said they have to do it. It was for parasites. And I got a lot, by the colonics, a lot of parasites came out. So I think, hey, what is that? And I went to the internet, and I saw that this Hulda Clark shop. I said, oh, never heard of it. Okay, and then that was in 2005. And then in 2006, my eczema became worse and worse. But I just found out in 2008 to use the zapper also for the eczema. And in a few weeks, it was gone. So I think, my God, it was not constitutional eczema, it were parasites. So, and then I think, hey, I want to do something with it. So I wrote a letter to Hulda Clark herself, and she said to me, you have to come. But suddenly then she passed away, and it's very sad that I never met her.
How rare it is to find somebody that will be open to follow the truth wherever it leads. Dr. Clark did many unconventional things, even in electronics, different things with the zapper, the things she came up with.
Dr. Clark was very, very excited about what she had learned. She brought us forth from a place of real darkness into the light, so to speak. She said, hey, wow, I found something incredible. And, it was when we look at it, when we look back on it now, it was like a eureka kind of a thing, Oh, this has got to be it. This is it. This is it. Parasite, this particular parasite causes the cancer. And so that's what she believed right then. And then she wrote her first book. This is what happens. And then she started researching a little bit more, and she found that, oh, okay, not only is this parasite involved, but that has to be here as well. There's isopropyl alcohol that's involved, and there's something else that's involved. And so she went on from there. So all these things are truths. They are truth, but they're not the whole story. But every time that she would discover something new, she would become just as excited as the first time, because she got closer and closer. So even though the original or the first findings did a lot of good, and in some cases they did cure some people's cancers, they weren't the whole story, so they didn't cure everybody. But we're still working on the whole story. So it's, yeah, it's, she was just excited. We can't blame her. I'd be excited too.
We have the ability to heal ourselves, but we have to give the right tools to the body to deal with the disease.
I have to somehow get the word out to the people who are suffering that there is a cure and that it isn't expensive, they can do it themselves, and they can be successful.